Environment of respect
Sorry.
during meetings. No problem. Got it. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there's disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcomed and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
Motion to accept agenda.
So moved by Kate, second.
I second.
Seconded by Andrea. All in favor? Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Motion
And
carries 3-0.
I think Richard should be getting on any second. He just texted me.
Oh, good. So everybody had a chance to review the minutes from May. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes.
So moved by Kate. Do I have a second?
I second.
So moved by Andrea. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. So coastal management update. Unfortunately, Corey is not here with us for that. So we'll move to cleanups. We had a nice day at Minot. We had only 5 turn out, but we ran out of trash, so I considered it a success anyway. Kate kindly brought munchkins. I brought muffins and coffee, and it was a nice morning.
It
It's
was
too
a
bad
nice
they
morning.
didn't turn out, but we didn't really need them because we got all the trash.
Yeah, the
So-
beach was in pretty good shape.
So looking
Good.
forward to, sorry?
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And so we're looking forward to July 8th at Egypt. Has anybody had any luck with a sponsorship on that one, a partner?
No,
Okay.
Andrea and I were talking by email, and there were a few companies you were going to reach out to, Andrea. So I held on reaching out to anyone further beyond Fantastics.
Mulaney's is very excited to help us. That's Mulaney's Harborside, the fish market. He said he could help us for any of them, but I think the September or November, which were 2 of them that were left, would work out really well. So he said just let him know. And then
Awesome.
Nor'easter Surf Shop verbally on the phone said, yeah, that sounds great. We'd love to participate. Send me the information. But I haven't heard anything yet from him one way or another. So I was gonna reach back out to him and see if he did or didn't. I forgot about Board 143, to be quite honest. I just realized I was supposed to reach out to them and I had not. So I will reach out to them. I can do that tomorrow, but I just blanked on that one. But Mulaney's is definitely on board. Joby thinks that's great. Happy to be a part of it in whatever capacity.
That's great news.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that still leaves us with July to follow up on.
I'm happy to reach out. Can you remind me about what a sponsorship means for these? And I'm happy to like ask around.
Sure. We're asking for food and drinks, whether they want to do coffee and donuts or pizza. We want them to publicize us. We want to be in their social media streams, hanging in their offices or whatever they've got, physically available.
Yeah.
And then to come out and be part of the activity is really what we're hoping will happen.
Yeah, I think it's that middle part, and maybe this is what Kate and Andrea were like. There are businesses with more of a presence as far as publicizing, and there's businesses that are a little quiet on that front. So I guess that's really the key one, is picking businesses that are out in the community, right?
Yeah, or could garner support from like Funtastics was like, oh, we'll put the flyers up, we'll advertise to our people, like huge family stuff, right? Like that. Board 143 is a good one, Andrea, because they're super active on social.
Mulaney's is very just active in general.
Yeah.
You know, they get
Yeah.
a bunch of clients in and out. You know, one I just was thinking about is we could approach Belson's. I don't think they've got a social media presence, but there's definitely people in and out of there.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, I was
Yeah.
thinking Maria's for the same reason.
Oh
right?
yeah. Maria's actually donated a pizza to us last year for one of
Right.
them.
Right.
It's a great idea.
I could talk
I can
with
go down there.
at Maria's.
Okay.
He's the one that, donated before. He's the owner.
I can forward you the template email that I used, that I shared with Andrea too, if it helps. It's just a couple bullets summarizing like what we're asking for, if that's helpful.
Great.
Okay, we'll do that.
And then I'll communicate. I'll think, and we don't want to hit the same people, right? So
Yeah,
I could communicate what I come up with.
But Mulaney's was very flexible. So he said we could plug him in if like another business wanted a different date, then we could plug him in. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Definitely.
But I got the sense, I know the week of July, like that July 8th would probably be kind of a busy time for him. I doubt he could send the manpower as easily to help us. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. The holiday season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, this is all good progress.
So sorry, I joined.
Doing.
What was the update of the one last weekend? How many people showed
We
up?
had 5 people, but we ran out of trash. So it was a win.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I wish we had more, but I don't know if it was the overcast, the potential for rain, other activities. But whatever, we did it. It was a nice day, I thought, for it.
Yeah.
Not too hot. So anything else on the cleanups? Okay, moving to beach reports. It's looking good out there. It's looking like summer.
Mhm.
Mowing
It
mats,
is.
boardwalks, trash cans.
I can start with
Wednesday.
Hummerock. I was down there last week or the week before. Everything looks good. It was one of the nicer days that I went down there with my kids for some ice cream, and there's lots of activity. The gate's been reopened, the trash cans are set up, the Moby mat is out, etc. The only two things, and I mentioned this to you on Saturday, Kelly, was it looks like part of the Moby mat is missing from what I remember being there last year. So it's only the stretch out, not the L shape that has been there historically. And there's only one trash in the parking lot, and it's way up by the post office. And so the area where the kids tend to play for basketball is trash bin less. And I've historically seen trash bins there, and I think there should be one there for kids for easy use of bottles and whatnot to throw away. So I don't know if those are actions to follow up with DPW on specifically, if we care about the Moby mat thing. But definitely, I think another trash bin needs to get put out.
I need to speak with Mike Green about the dune signs and the beach entrance signs. So I will put it on the list of
Perfect.
things to ask him about.
Okay. And they may add more, right, as the season
More cans.
approaches, but there's like one off to the corner, and when I was there was tons of kids playing basketball, and I was just thinking to myself, like, their trash is just gonna go off into the dunes and the river. So
Yeah, we'll try to get that fixed. Richard, how's Peggotty?
Peggotty is great. There's 5 trash cans. There's 2, I think, porta potties, if not 3. The beach
awesome.
looks great. There's new fencing up where there were some gaps in the fencing, and there's new fencing up. There's the new book share, which I was surprised.
yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't know who's going to tell us about it, but I had no idea. I went there, what was it, 3 weeks ago, and boom, it was there. My wife was making fun of me that I had no idea that it was happening. But
That was recreation in the library.
It's great. I mean, it's great. And yeah. And like I've probably been 3 or 4 times, and there've been different books, right? So it is being used and people are sharing, like dropping off books, taking books. That's for sure. So
That's
that's great.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
such a good
that's
awesome.
location too.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
collaboration between the library and recreation, and they say if it does well there, they'll go to other beaches too.
The library had a nice picture about it in their recent, I don't know, your wife probably gets the library's newsletter.
I did
I
see
know,
it
I know,
in the library newsletter. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was cool.
I know the education. What's funny is I went to Wrexham in Marshfield like last month and I saw one of those and I thought to myself, we need one of those. And then 2 weeks later, there it was at Peggotty. So
They read your mind, Richard. They knew. They read
yeah,
your
right,
mind.
right.
You know what?
Uh,
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. The I'm blanking on her name, Jennifer, I think, Kelly, at the cleanup. Mentioned to me, I can't remember if she said there was one at mine, you would know, Andrea, or if she had just seen it in the past, but there was the same concept for books, but for sand, like sand toys, like lost sand toys and things that like you could put in there and kids could take or return or whatever. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's such a good idea because my kids constantly find abandoned toys, or we find abandoned toys, or we drop something on the way out and not realize it, right? Thought, what a cool concept. Instead of book sharing, like toy sharing.
I saw that too. That was on like my Instagram or Pinterest feed.
Okay,
Somewhere
I
it
haven't
came
actually
up.
seen it.
Yeah. I have not seen it at mine before. There is actually a little library. I think there's maybe 2 in the neighborhood, but none at mine at beach proper. It's a really good idea to get spread out to a few other beaches. I like the idea of the toys too. It'd just be hard to find the right location. I feel like the Purple Dinosaur has that right now.
Yeah, they do.
but yeah, Peggotty. I mean, I think it
Did they get the
looks
shower?
great.
Did they get the not the shower, but
No.
like remember how they had that? No, okay, is that just totally
So
gone
that's
now?
like filled. That's where the trash cans are now. That's like filled in. There's no piping. Like I think that's just gone, done.
Gone. Okay, that's too bad.
Yep.
Do we know why? Do you know why by chance? Historically, like, 'cause at one point it worked.
You want to add that, Kelly, if you're talking to DPW?
I'm writing it right now, yes. Why? No shower at Hummerock. I mean, excuse me, Peggotty.
And it wasn't right. It
was
was
like the foot cleaner thing, right?
Was it a foot? It was a
think
foot
so.
cleaner, right? I
Yeah.
don't think it was a
both,
proper
'cause
shower. It was a foot cleaner.
Egypt still has
Was it
one.
both?
Egypt still has one, and it's like I think it's a tall. It's it's a tall pole, the one in Egypt, and I'm pretty sure that that's what Peggotty had too, where it was tall. So I think you could have showered or foot washed. I could be wrong, but I know Egypt has one.
Right. They never took it in either, weirdly. They left the shower out all winter this year.
I mean, as long as they shut off the water to it and aerate it, then they probably can leave it out.
So Andrea, how's mine looking?
I mean, I haven't been in the last week because we've been gone, but prior to that, it looked great. So, yeah, same as the other beaches. They're just I feel like every couple of days there's more progress in getting it ready for the summer, like a few more trash receptacles get dropped off. I don't know what the current count is, so I would be curious about that if they've actually got them at the top of each stairwell. They did not when we left early last week, so I'm not sure if they've got how many they've got out yet. But in terms of it being continually prepped, that was happening. And the porta potties weren't out yet when we left either. I don't know if they were out when you guys were there for the beach cleanup.
No.
Okay.
No, there were a number of trash cans though. I don't remember exactly, but a lot of the stairwells had them. I don't know about the middle one, but the ends definitely did.
Yeah, it's always the ends. Usually they put another one along the way. And the Moby mat wasn't out yet before we left either. So I don't know if that's out either. I think June 15th seems to be like that's when the dog hours go into effect. So from what I recall last year, I think that's when they got a little more serious about getting everything like seemed like that was kind of the target date.
June 16th are the lifeguards.
Is that it? June 16th? Yeah. So it seemed like in parallel with lifeguards and the dog hours, restricted hours is when they got it ready. So I would assume it'll be very ready soon.
How about the water safety station? Oh, and we did see the Moby mats were out at,
Oh,
Mhm.
good. Okay.
Yeah, they are.
but I didn't see the water safety station yet. Have you seen that come out?
No, not yet.
Another thing to talk about with Mr. DPW. All right. Anything else on the beach reports? No. Okay. Resident survey, which Rich nicely adapted to Google Forms. What do we think of the material? We wanted to add some demographic questions now that we have more room to work with. What's everybody thinking?
Oh, I guess I just was curious, did anybody have a chance to look at the historical survey results?
Yes, I did.
I
Yep.
did. The thing that surprised me was the high number, like
Oh,
the percent of beachgoers, the highest beach attendance was Humrock.
I was really surprised
I
by
was
that.
very surprised by that. And it might have just been the responder base, but there were 285 responders to the survey. I found that very
Really
interesting.
happy they had that many people respond. That's great.
Same. And of that, yeah, I'm just looking, I have it open. Of the 285, 113, their most frequented beach was Humrock. That really surprised me. And that might just be because I'm like not on Humrock, right? Like it might have been all of the homeowners that responded. So I just thought I found that interesting.
You know what it could maybe like that beach association, like a question we may want to ask is how do you hear about the survey?
I think you might be right, Rich, because like if they really
just
push
to see, right? Because yeah.
Richard, are you comfortable handling the survey from this point on, making any changes to it?
Yes, yes.
analyzing?
Yes, I am. I've had, I don't have, I've had a hellish month at work, but things are coming to a close, but I can definitely pick up on. And the demographic questions, like I know we can ask age ranges. Should we ask something about, I forget what we talked about. Should we ask something about like, how do you ask it? Like the type of beach experience, like do you go solo with friends, with kids? Do you think something like that would be helpful? Just to see if
Maybe.
there's a
Yeah, I'm not
correlation
doubting you. I'm just thinking.
between. I'm just thinking if there's a correlation between like the type of beachgoer you are and the beach that you pick.
Yeah.
Even though I think we kind of know the answers there.
It's interesting to make a
validate.
correlation though, officially. I think we'd also like to know how they transport themselves to the beach
I was just looking at that question.
because of bike racks and all that.
Yeah, and I was also surprised by the answer in the last one. The 59 people or 26% of responders had said that they park on the property of a friend or relative. That's how they access the beach. But then I reminded myself that not most, but a majority of responders were Humrock. And so they're going to people's houses and going to Humrock, right? So I think that skewed maybe a little bit the response there, but otherwise the high response was purchasing a seasonal beach pass. But we should add visit, like something. I feel like there's something here about the visitor pass that we could either validate or refute our plan to. I just don't have my arms around what exactly that question is yet.
Would you be interested in the option of a day pass? Would you or your friends and family be interested.
Yeah, I think it's the friends and family. Are you aware Scituate has a visitor beach pass program?
I was trying to think of a better way to phrase that because I sent you a follow-up email comment about like, you know, you have a relative that visits and they have little kids and need car seats, but none of your
Yeah.
vehicles have car seats anymore. And like, you want them to go to the beach, but they can't use their minivan. So yeah, I don't know of a good way I'll have to think on how to abridge that, like how to condense that to make it. But I do think there is a lot of that, of people wanting to have friends come and visit and be able to go to the beach and not necessarily have to use their vehicles.
Yeah. Or they don't have enough personal stickers to do so, right? Same situation. Like we
Yeah.
intentionally buy extra stickers for some of our cars that we wouldn't normally bring to the beach in case we have friends, to your point. But yeah, I agree. I agree there. So Rich, maybe there's a question around uptake of the visitor
Yep.
pass program.
Are you talking about the old one or the new? Like, should I ask it in a way? Would you be interested in? Like, phrase it that way.
Like, would friends or family, like visiting friends or
Right.
family,
Would you be interested in a visitor?
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't want to like get too. We should leave it as an unknown since we haven't officially presented anything, right?
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're not giving any context behind it, so you don't want to start
I
getting
agree.
the wrong message accidentally. I guess maybe
Or
we could
maybe-
do is say, would you
Maybe
be
would
interested?
you support? Would you support maybe?
Would you support a method in which your visiting guests could use the beaches more easily or something like that? I don't know how to phrase it. I have to think about that. We can all think on it. We don't need to come up with it
Yeah.
exactly right here.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
All right, so Rich can make the updates we've got. We'll reconvene on exact wording. Anything else?
I'll give it my best bet, my best shot.
And I'm happy to pitch in. It's just, one of us should be driving.
Yep, happy to.
So anything else on the resident survey? I'm very interested to see what we find out and how it parallels the last survey. All right, the beach sticker proposal. Kate, what's happening?
Yeah, so I had sent out, let's see, on the 8th, I think, the visitor, like a rough draft of the slide deck that we can all start adding to or commenting in and modifying. There's a Google link. I know, Andrea, you've sent me some feedback, which I agree with all of it. I'm happy to share it to go over together right now, or I just sort of call for any other comments on it and I can send a final version. What I was trying to do in structure was to say the advantage of this expansion. First of all, we'll call it a pilot. We'll formally check in on it later and decide collectively whether it was successful or not. But ultimately to increase awareness and use of beaches, but not, and this is a key point, I think, will not impact availability of beach access or parking to local residents. And I think a key of that is part of the modifications of saying, let's change it from 2 days to 5 weekdays, but not Saturday, Sunday use, and expand it to all Scituate beaches, not just Peggotty. I think there's a couple of things for discussion though, based on the actual content, the slide content. And one of them is cost. One of them is limit, how many per day. And I think there's also a discussion we should have about the pre-order versus in-person day of type.
Well,
payment.
and what the thing that I left with a question is like, what does it look like? like, what is the pass? Is it a physical pass
Yeah.
that you hand on?
Yeah, and I
What-
actually,
what
Rich, don't
is-
know, and I can, I'll go maybe stop by the harbor master myself and ask to see it, because there is a pass
Oh, right, because
currently.
we have them, right?
There's
We have them,
already
right,
sort of an
right.
infrastructure here that we're looking to expand. And so part of me wonders, like, do we want to overhaul it, or do we want to just try to expand the current and then refine it? I tend to be in the camp of the latter, like keep the current, whatever they're using now, keep it, because the people doing ticketing and all that are maybe trained or used to seeing one or two, even though it was only 8 last year. But like that sort of training around it already exists. So there's something, I just don't know exactly what it is. But I do think there should and could be an allowance to not have to go the day of in the morning or whatever to buy it. I do think we could allow for I don't know, it's not like pre-order, but sort of prepayment for future days, because you can, I imagine
Right.
whatever the sticker or parking or thing is, you could just write the date, right?
Exactly. Ideally, it's something you hang
Yeah.
Yeah.
on your
My
front,
thought-
and then you can put in marker the date, right?
I had emailed Katie on this, and one idea I had was make it, if it's not neon yellow or neon orange, make it completely, totally neon so that it's very clear. And one idea I had was, if we can, maybe talk with like the visitor center or Nona's or Dribbles or something like that,
Yeah.
and have like a coupon for a small ice cream, or maybe energy balls at Quench, like something that gets people not just at the beach, but then back into the harbor or North Scituate, something like that, spending money.
I love that
Um,
idea.
So I don't know if that's possible, but it's just an idea of, like, ice cream to me always seems like a really easy one. And then you walk around eating it, and then hopefully you stay for dinner or go shopping.
The
So
other
that
thing
way,
I was thinking of that I didn't put in the slides that I have for sort of discussion today too, because I love that idea, and to take it even maybe one step further, less about the local business, but I think there's also an opportunity to provide like a flyer or a statement or a printout of some sort of beach rules. In a, like, use your trash receptacles, don't walk on the dunes, like, and I think that may help a little bit with that resident only type concept of like, all right, well, if we're actively saying take your trash off the beach, these are your responsibilities as part of this visitor sticker. I kind of like the idea of having both together, right? Handed out when you pay for a pass. But that's kind of an add-on. I love the idea of having some sort of incentive to go to the local businesses, because that's kind of the point, right?
yeah. Another thought, I know you talked about the online, but another idea at Center was if we can make it so maybe you can only purchase like 7 days in advance. I don't think you can purchase it all in advance now, but that way, if you're staying in an Airbnb, maybe the week before you arrive, or maybe you arrive that morning and you go and you get like 3 passes to use for the week or something. Like, I'm just thinking of the people that would come down for a week or maybe a
I agree.
month. So that was something too. I think on the cost, I think you're dead on. I think, because I think you had it at $20.
It is 20 currently.
Okay, and then you had
Yeah.
it at 25. And I
25.
think 20 or 25, I think either one would be appropriate, because I was actually looking at the North Shore a little bit too, to just kind of, because I know you were pulled in the Wrexham and that
And
sort of thing. But the
Duxbury.
North Shore, if you go to some of the, because you grew up in Gloucester, I think.
I did.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what they're priced as well. So I think 20 or 25 would be very justifiable.
20 by itself, 25 is you get a free ice cream.
There you go. I picked 25 because Wrexham is 15 Monday to Friday, 20 Saturday, Sunday, and Duxbury is 20 per day. I picked 25 because you get access to all beaches in this program. And so I was like, okay, maybe that's an incentive enough to be a bit more. That being said, I don't know, handing over a $20 bill feels a little more palatable sometimes than 25, but I don't know. Again, there was only 8 last year, so I feel like anything is good.
But I mean,
like
I
the
would,
idea though, if you have 25 and then like Richard said, maybe we're not asking Nona's to actually donate an ice cream. Maybe it's just covered in the cost of it. Or dribbles or whatever. I don't want to say Nona's.
Yeah. I don't know what the
I would-
logistics looks like though of like
right,
paying Nonas for that in the background, right? But
yeah. Short of that, I mean, whenever you're starting a pilot, I think you want it, like you price it down
Yeah.
to give it the most chance of success, right? So
Yeah.
I would go with 20 unless there's more to it, more value added.
knowing that the other two
Personally.
local beaches are 20, I tend to agree. Any additional
Like if this
thoughts
was a
on that?
business, I would say make it 10, you know, but, that
Well,
you're
we could just
trying
say
to push it, a new endeavor, right?
we could say a range and then see what the select board would, if they've got an opinion. I'm sure they'll have an opinion.
Yeah, and
Um,
20 would be no change to the current like what they priced. Whoever decided on this in the first place priced it at 20. I mean, some could argue inflation and all the other stuff, but I tend to agree with you, Rich. Like if we want there to be uptake, we shouldn't pricing out is not a good strategy. Okay. Could also ask the select board the question, right? Like, is 20 the appropriate place to be?
They'll be sure to have an opinion.
I'm sure. And I had said limit to 20 a day, like just so that there's guardrails on it. I highly suspect that there won't be 20 a day, but just so that there's guardrails. And I think someone, maybe Andrea, you had asked, like, is there a cap currently? And I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. I can ask that too if when I ask what the pass looks like. Were there any other comments or feedback, concerns? I think once this is firmed up too, Corey had a great suggestion about running this by like visitor center, chamber of commerce type forums. Do we
I think that's, yeah.
agree that that should be something we
Yes.
do?
I think that would make the most sense before we go to the select board. I think we should definitely run it by him. I'll be curious if they know that there's a day pass currently.
Situate's best kept secret.
Yeah. Do we I provided some of those like excerpts from Airbnb. Do we feel like that's valuable?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
I questioned myself when I put that in, like, is it a little too argumentative? But if you thought it was valuable, then I'll keep it.
I thought it was. I mean, the whole reason that this came into us even thinking about it was because Andrew was trying to come up with some ideas for economic incentive with the sunrise sticker.
Yes, exactly.
So if that's our primary objective, and I think that's a good one, then yeah, I think reporting some of the complaints that people who come in and are spending money in the town, I think that's valid.
Okay.
I think it's
And you
a
didn't put in
fantastic
argumentative
idea.
ones.
Yeah. No, I like nobody in town wants to see your town saying everything was great, but like
Mhm.
nobody wants to see that, right? So
Yeah. Okay, good. Anything else on that needs to be adjusted or added? Okay.
Alrighty, so that brings us to the QR sticker proposal. Rich, any check-ins with Connor on that or any motion?
unfortunately not. I started on it right after our meeting and then I lost the thread completely. But I do have some news kind of on the floating wheelchairs.
Okay,
It's so I talked to Josh Kelly
Sigworth, yes.
That you sent me, and we kind of brainstormed ideas. The best thing we came up with was basically putting signage at the beaches. Like I was at Peggotty, there's an empty sign at the entrance where there's just a board, and it'd be so easy just to laminate a sign and say, do you know that we have a floating wheelchair with like a picture of the wheelchair?
Yeah.
So I think that's like our number one idea. Then he said, hey, Megan is better by email. So I emailed with Megan, and then we've been exchanging voicemails again because she said that she does have additional ideas and would love to talk, but it's again voicemail. So I want to talk with her and get her ideas as well. But I think like, and maybe if you're again, can you add that to your list with the DPW? If there is, because it would be great because like especially Peggotty, the pod is right there. There's a place with no sign that we could just post a sign right there, and it could be like a really easy. I mean, at least start out there because you have that's the one where it's right there. He also talked about how Minot would probably be the ideal one because of how flat it is, and you know, I talked about space, and he said that they have like they were told to go to their meeting. They have like $5,000 they have to spend, and they were told to brainstorm ideas about how to spend that money, and that getting a pod for Minot that could store one could be a use of that money. But then we talked about how there's no room, and it may have to wait for the new parking lot, based on what Recreation told me about the space issue. But if we, and again, Kelly, if you want to add it to your DPW list, if like getting a pod at Minot is something that DPW has thought of at all.
The problem is there's no room for it, just like Recreation said. They actually borrow
But
space from the
aren't they
residents.
expanding? Aren't they expanding the parking lot this fall?
Well, I guess there's two questions on that I've got. I agree that the paved parking lot, which is the easternmost parking lot, that gets filled up. That's the one that they're going to be expanding, that they said was going to be paved at the end of last summer and didn't happen, right? So, but they still are in the works of getting that paved, and it should be a little bit bigger once it gets paved. But the other parking lot, which is to the west of it, which is the gravel parking lot, that one doesn't get nearly as full. And in fact, over the wintertime and stuff, there's always construction equipment parked there. I'm surprised that they can't justify taking up a little space in that one for a pod. Or is it considered to be too far?
So Josh asked me, he said, and then we take a picture of it and we hang it up and we say, do you know we have these? And I said, funny thing, Josh, I have no idea what it looks like. And I don't know how big
Kelly,
it is.
you did that,
and I
didn't
don't
you?
know how easy it is to transport.
Kelly, you did that because I remember seeing one.
Yes, there's one at Village Market. Sandy at Goodies is having a fundraiser to try to get the money together for a floating wheelchair, but then we heard from Recreation there's no need for them. So that's just kind of on hold. So if we could put one at Minot, that would be wonderful. Where would we get the money for the pod is one thing I'm wondering. Is that commission on disability?
Well, that's what
going to pay for that?
exactly.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I still have to talk to Megan. Josh said that they have money that they're looking to spend, and that could be an idea. That's as far as that got.
Well, so you'll check in with them again about that idea? Is that?
Yeah, I'm still following up with. I will talk to Megan, and now I have her email address. I'll keep emailing her too.
But I guess I'd still ask the question of how close does it need to be to the beach, right? Because like Peggotty, it's close, right? Egypt, it's close. Minot, even if you're in that parking lot, you're still considerably further. You've got to cross the street. You've got some sidewalks that aren't particularly wheelchair accessible, or you take the ramp down, which is probably a better idea. So I'm just wondering if could it go a little bit further, or is that now you're in a gravel lot that might not be. I just am wondering how wheelchair, because there's not even a handicap parking spot at Minot. Like there are no handicap accessible spots marked, right? At Minot currently. So I guess I'm not sure what I'm getting at. I just am wondering, like, if putting it a little further away, is that insurmountable, or is that still provide? Is someone going to the pod to get it out, or is recreation getting it out for the person? Because I
I
know
was
you
gonna
said
say, I
sometimes
think
you take it out,
recreation would
sometimes
bring
they
it
get
out.
it. So if
I think
recreation takes
recreation
it
will bring-
out, then maybe putting it a little further away in the west lot where it's a gravel lot, maybe it's not that big of a deal because you don't have the person in the wheelchair having to traverse that
Well,
topography
but-
anyway.
By recreation, I think I think Peggotty, it's the lifeguards that help get
Okay.
it out. I will ask. I mean, my guess is that that's pretty far to go, but that's not coming at a place with any real knowledge.
I don't know. I don't know how heavy these are.
No, nor do I. We should
And
take the field trip to explore the floating wheelchairs we have.
I was thinking I was there the other day, but the lifeguard, it was past. I was like, oh, I should have them open it up and let me see it.
Definitely.
Maybe I'll go
See if
down.
they
It's
know.
right down the street. It's right down the
See
street.
if they know that they
I'll go
have
down.
it and that's their responsibility.
Flash your beach commission
on
badge.
Friday.
Flash your beach commission badge.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. No, I'll go like Friday afternoon. It's right down the street. It's easy enough, and I'll ask the lifeguard to let me check it out.
Good idea. All right, so anything else on the QR sticker proposal? Floating beach chairs. Nothing.
I'll get back.
Okay.
I'll get back on it.
Bike racks, Andrea.
Okay, so made a little bit of progress. I met with the DPW guys, and so I got a much better idea of what their scope of work would or wouldn't be. And essentially it was really interesting. I got an earful about CPC projects from them. But basically, if we're looking to have the CPC put in pads, concrete pads, and then mount any bike racks, that's absolutely not going to happen. They don't have the manpower to do that. And so the few bike racks that there are around town, which were put in back in 2012, there's 5 of them. It was through a grant, and the DPW ended up writing, just specifying, here's what the size of the pad should be. We want it to have a metal mesh, 6 inches deep, etc. And then they went out to bid to have a contractor then excavate as necessary, pour the concrete pad, and then embed the bike racks that were purchased separately into it. So they'll provide support, kind of, I guess. And the big thing they had was like, if this gets approved, whether at the select board level or within the CPC, try to make sure that we're getting whoever, I'm trying to remember what the DPW's head guy's name is.
Kevin Cafferty.
Thank you. Make sure we get Kevin on board. So that way, if we do need them to help with any sort of specifications, that could happen. But if we're looking like, oh, hey, we're going to buy these racks and then the DPW will install them, that's not going to be the case. I'm also have a meeting set up with the Department of Recreation. Nick Lombardo is the new head of that. Because if we want close proximity to the beach for the bike racks, then the best place would be to move one of those lifeguard spots over and then be able to put bike racks there. So if he's willing to do that, and I don't know, I'm hoping he will be, at Peggotty and Minot, then that would be pretty ideal. Because then we could just say, okay, we'll still keep the lifeguard parking, but we'll move one of them a little bit further away. Because if we want these to be short-term parking, bike parking that get used by people, then you need to have them close to the beach. The other idea that I need to go back and confirm with Jeff is for Peggotty, it's pretty simple. We're really just looking at, when you look at the beach, on one side you have the porta potties and the handicap parking. On the other side is the lifeguard spaces. There's really room for the lifeguard spaces to get shifted over, and they'd still have a lot of room. So that's what would be there. But for mine, one idea is maybe to put it into Gordon Park. But I need to look at the property lines a little bit closer and see if conservation would be okay with that, because we'd be taking some grassy area and making that concrete. One idea though, instead of a concrete pad, is you could put like permeable pavers down, or you could have it where it's just, you have concrete just where it's embedded in the ground, and then you could still leave it with like a grassy surface, and that might be okay as well, because, you know, no one's leaving their bike overnight. It's just for a few hours while they go to the beach. All of this is under the premise of, you know, this would be if we're trying to do the more of a commercial rack. Commercial racks, Nancy Warner is the one who's trying to get a bike commission started. So she and I've been working together on that. She's been getting quotes from a couple of different bike rack manufacturers that would be more commercial type, that you would see being used in like Cambridge or, you know, Washington, D.C. or other cities. So she's been getting quotes from some of those where you'd have a much more industrial looking, just, you know, the stainless steel U. Those usually are about with freight and everything, you're looking at about $2,000 for if you have a rack that holds 10 bikes. Then the other idea we talked about obviously was the vocational school. If we still wanted to go that route of having them make a rack, which was closer to 5,000 or 6,000, and we'd still need a concrete pad regardless. I have, for concrete pad pricing, I've got requests out to 3 different concrete people. So 2 of them were names that the DPW had given me to contact. And then a third one was basically my landscape guy gave me like the concrete guy that he uses. So I'm trying to get concrete pricing together to say, okay, the pad's going to be this much, the bike will be this much, and then we'll know it's going to be $5,000 per site or $6,000 per site. So I don't have that quite yet. And like I said, the finalized locations aren't set yet either. So that's kind of where I'm at. Is I'd say we're further, but I don't think, I guess one thing is if we do the CPC route, then I think that pretty much locks us into the commercial type of bike rack. If we go the vocational school route, then I don't think the CPC funding route would work very well. And the reason I say that is just because the CPC funding, as you know, we'd have to get our application in, and then it has to be approved at the town meeting. It's like so many steps to finally get the funding. I'm not sure if the timing of that would work out very well with the vocational school. Does that make sense? So that's kind of where I'm at. What I was hoping is once I got pricing for the concrete is I could maybe send that to you guys and you could say, all right, yep, that all looks okay, or it doesn't. I don't know if we still are feeling like, hey, we'd really rather have something that's a more of a aesthetically unique versus the commercial, because the commercial would be just like what you'd see in the city of Boston, where you'd have like 10 U-shaped in a row, in a just, you know, it'd take up like 12 feet type of thing. Oh, don't do that. Don't restart later. Sorry, my computer's giving me a bunch of alarms. Don't restart, please. So that's where I'm at. I'm not making progress, but I'm not where I want to be yet on it.
So what are you thinking about putting out a CPC application? It's too soon. We'll wait for the next round, or?
I mean, I just don't feel like we've got a great grasp of, if I can get the concrete pricing in time, then I think we could go forward and, well, I guess there's 2 questions, because Nancy feels like we should just ask them for all of the beaches and just say, hey, we want to do a bike rack at every beach. Egypt has a bike rack, but she'd like to see more. But she's also on a mission to, like, she wants to have bike racks all over Scituate and have bike paths and trails. And that's awesome. I'm really glad someone's taken that on. So I guess that's a question, is would we want to try to say we want it for you know, all of the beaches? Or would we say, nope, we just want these two? And then we could say we'd like to do that more in the future and then go back. What do you guys think one way or another there?
I think it sounds like it's gonna be in the neighborhood of 20,000 for all of them. I
Yeah,
don't think
probably.
that's a lot to ask CPC for.
And that's 2,000 per beach just for the rack plus the concrete. And there's 6 beaches, right?
You
Yeah,
just
I
take
think if
as
you,
much as 5,000 for the bike ride.
yeah, like let's say if you
Yeah.
said 5,000 per beach, then that would be,
Right.
you'd be, yeah, 30,000 total.
30.
And then we
I'm
have to
surprised.
find mutually agreeable spots.
Humrock doesn't have one. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
we've talked it. I'm just surprised that
I know.
it seems like it should.
Seems like an opportune spot for it, doesn't it? Right? Especially when you look at those survey
Yeah.
results and the way people are getting to the beach is walking or parking at a friend's. Yeah, I agree completely. I Logistics aside, I think I've said my preference is the more aesthetically pleasing student supported route. Just because we're putting effort into putting like better signage at the beach, prettier, beach naming signage. And I don't know, my preference tends to be the like more art driven, creative, cultural pleasing type racks. But I get what you're saying about timing and having to go through all of these steps. But if we're talking 5 to 6,000 per beach, including concrete, and it would be 5 to 6 without concrete of the latter, doesn't really feel that different. Like, I don't know. Is the difference in cost all that much that we would be precluded from continuing to pursue the Voc School path, or is it truly about timing you're concerned about?
My concern would be with the timing. I think if we
Timing.
did the vocational school route, then my preference would be to pursue what do we call it? The in memory, I'm blanking on
The
the
memorial program.
yeah, thank you.
Right,
They've
right.
said firmly
I think
that's
is
not
that
a thing that's gonna work, though.
why is
I've
that?
I've asked repeatedly. I asked Karen Connolly, I asked Lorraine and Michelle Segazy, and what came back is they just aren't doing it anymore. They have enough benches, they're not willing to adapt the program. So if we really feel strongly, we could go to the select board and ask them to reinstitute it, but
So you've asked specifically for bike racks, or you've just asked in general?
I first asked about including bike racks in the memorial program, but was told
Okay,
the memorial program has been shut down as a possibility.
got it. Okay. Well, I guess, let's see. So the CPC program, my understanding, it's July 1st, applications are due. And then I guess there's a couple of questions that I'd have to explore with it. So it then goes to the fall meeting and it has to get approved at the fall town meeting. So I guess there's one question is, like, let's say if we just asked for 2, we just said, okay, we want to do mine at Peggotty or 3, let's say mine at Peggotty and Hummerock. Because I think we could identify locations for those pretty easily. Whereas with Sand Hills and Museum, the location might get more complicated.
Yeah.
But if we said for those 3 and then it happens in the fall, my next question then, and Kelly, you might know this from the MobiMats, is when does that funding then get released? Is it pretty quickly thereafter?
It is. I can't remember the exact dates on the fall one, but I think it's, within a month.
Okay,
After the-
okay. And
Because,
then I guess,
Go ahead.
no, so I guess I was just trying to think through, so we'd be kind of contingent on the funding getting approved at the town meeting, but I think we'd know what when is their meeting? Because if we go the commercial bike rack route, then it's, you know, you just place an order whenever you place an order, right? But if we do the CPC funding, then I'm trying to think of when would we know from them that this is probably going forward or not? Because if it goes to town meeting, the likelihood of it getting refused is, I think, pretty low. Or at least I haven't seen any of their projects really get argued over, other than the Border Street was one that I remember got argued a lot. Kelly, you're at much more of the town meetings than I am, though. Are individual projects really discussed too much, especially when it's something like this? Or
No, there wasn't
Yeah.
a word about the beach entrance signage for it. So it just rode along on the ballot with the rest of them.
Okay, so I think we'd probably then know over the summer if this was a go or a no-go. In which case we could just say, yep, the funding would be coming probably the fall meetings, what, October or November? Trying to think.
Actually, you have to wait until after the vote to get started to even give them the work order. Because I was leaving it until later, but you might have heard we're approved for the funding and we're approved for the locations with the select board on the beach entrance signage. And we can't start on it until after July 1st. So we couldn't go to someone in the summer and say, hey, we're gonna have the money in the fall. I mean, that's just
No,
that's
no,
not
no.
how
They
work
wouldn't.
it.
I guess my point is, like, we had contacted them last summer, and then in the fall is when they got back to us and said, hey, yeah, we'd love to do this project. This is what the price tag is. But they tell you up front when you put in a request that, like, you have to have the funding ready, you have to be prepared to pay for this. Like, it's one of those things that they make it pretty clear that they don't want a lot of requests coming in and then people going, oh, that's how much it's going to be. I'm not going to do that. So I guess my point is that it's a little bit of a, hey, this is the route that we are going to pursue this. And if it happens, are you willing to do this when you have students returning in the fall? Does that make sense? They wouldn't be starting anything over the summer.
Right.
But
Makes
you're right.
sense to
Like,
me.
there's definitely steps that have to happen in terms
Yeah,
of the
there's some
exact location
positioning
has
that
be
needs to
defined.
be done, right? Around if this gets approved, are you willing, right? To
Because
set
I don't
up.
want to, because, well, I guess the other question would be, you know, from a CPC perspective, let's say everything does get approved, and then maybe we just wait until the following school year to go to them and say, yeah, this is when we want to do it. The price might go up a little bit, you know, 316 stainless steel isn't constant. And that might be the other way, is just talk to the teacher and say, this is the steps that we're going to do. So can you put it into if it all gets approved, would that be not a 2023, 2024, but a 2024, 2025 school year thing? Does that make sense? I mean, we wouldn't be
It does,
promising anything. We'd just be saying, like, this is what we'd like to see this happen. And then if that all goes, then we could, you know, kind of roll into, all right, well, we'd like to expand it and do 2 more the next year or something like that. I don't know what that would be exactly, but
A continued
think
my
project
bias
what they
is
call
like,
that.
I would prefer not to rush it and get something that is, again, like more aesthetically art focused or you know, support it. Like I see the need. I'm on board with the desire to do it and to move it forward. Like, my bias is I would rather have something nicer than just the commercial to get it done this year versus next. So I tend to agree with you. I was just looking at the cultural council. Is there an opportunity to partner at all on this with them? It seems like maybe there's some funding network. But I was just reading, like, it's a town committee makes annual grants to support local arts and culture programs that benefit Scituate residents. I don't know, just a thought from an art
yeah, no,
point of
that's a
view.
really good idea. I could definitely approach them and just let them know this is what we were thinking and see what they say. I'd be happy to do that. Yeah.
I'm sure they don't have
Um,
30 grand to give, but if it could offset and maybe get one to throw at a
Mhm.
beach, and if it's a
Yeah.
solid uptake, it may make it really easy to get the others.
What about the Scituate Education Fund? I know they do different stuff because, like, they had done some of the beach grass plantings, but I don't know if this would fall into their, because it wouldn't be Scituate students necessarily, right? It'd be the
That's true.
vocational school.
That's true.
So maybe that one's not. Okay, let me,
Or can the rec department give us some of their budget they're looking to spend?
I'll look into some other avenues. So I just wanted to at least give you, I think the good news is now at least we're getting some better idea of what the pricing is either way. But it was interesting to learn that the DPW is pretty limited on what they are able to do. And the other goal of this would be, my hope is that these would stay there year round. You know, once they're in, they're in. I don't see a need for these to be removable. And if that means we put some bollards around them, and maybe that's something that DPW has to do, or maybe we have to include that in the project. I think the only one that would really need bollards would be Peggotty, because that one seems to have heavy equipment happening a lot. I don't know that the other beaches would really need a bollard at all. But it would probably take looking either way. Okay, well, I'm going to keep gathering cost information because that's important, I think, for us to be able to make any sort of decision. And I will keep looking into, I also haven't given up the idea of like soliciting private donations, maybe not a memory program, but maybe there's another way that this can be done. That's not with a in memory of someone, because it seems like that's the turnoff. They don't want there to be some plaque, but they obviously liked when it was done as a private project at the library.
Right.
So that was something that the select board liked. So if maybe there's another avenue there.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for your work on that, Andrea. That brings us to the beach social. Kate.
Yeah, so we are all set for the drift in 4:30 June 29th. Kelly created a flyer that she sent out this week, just in terms of sort of advertising to the beach associations. My plan was to attach that flyer and send out an invite to all of our contacts at the beach associations, encouraging attendance and participation from the leaders and though anyone interested who's part of the organization, as an opportunity to get to know each other, share lessons across associations, learn how they may be able to get more involved in the beaches. And we'll have things like flyers for cleanups and I think even maybe your wheelchair flyer might be a good idea to put up, Kelly, too. So just like sort of the happenings, if you will. My question for you all is, do we do like name tag situation? Like what kind of vibe are we looking for when we get there? And for context, Arlene graciously agreed to give us some space at the high top area in the drift in. I don't know if you've been there, but near the bar. And if we have spillover, which would be a great problem to have, she said we can absolutely expand it, head outside, whatever we need. And she'll throw a few apps in for us so we can, folks can get their own drinks, but we'll have some snack type food for us to be socializing around. So we're grateful for that. But do we want the sort of vibe to be like name tag and which association you're from, or do we want it to be more casual and more laid back than that?
I like casual.
Okay.
Unless they're very sticky stickers.
I don't really have a preference. I was just sort of looking to see in terms of preparation for what to bring and what we're kind of hoping for. Do
I
others
just
have
don't like when they come off.
I guess one thing that is kind of nice is that if you're mingling and there is a name tag, then you know that like that person's with the beach association and not just someone else there at the same time. So that is kind of nice, but it sounds like we'll have our own space. I mean,
we will, but it's not necessarily going to be like roped off or anything, you know?
Exactly.
So like, and I was thinking about signage. I may just like print out my own sort of, I don't know, I'll think about how to do that, but just to sort of put up a sign so someone comes in, they know where to go, like where the group is gathering. I did chat with two separate people from associations that said, in like sort of philosophically, yeah, I would attend something like that. So, turnout TBD, but I think a Thursday at 4:30 is probably a good time for people, as a sort of kickoff to summer, if there's interest in connecting across associations, which hopefully there is.
I guess, so for me personally, I guess I was just thinking about like, so the preschool, the school my kids go to, like they have little parent gatherings, and when there's name tags, I have a tendency to remember people's names a little bit
Yeah.
better than when there's no name tags. But I will say the name tags also get kind of, you feel like kind of
Speed
dumb.
dating or something,
Yeah, I know. So it is like a
Maybe we
mixed
have
bag.
them. Maybe I bring some and we have them, and we'll see. Like people can choose to do it or not do it, sort of situation.
Are you, you're not planning is there going to be an RSVP thing, or like, are you going to ask people to please let you, because I just wonder, I don't know. Hopefully you can get some sort of idea, I guess, just by feedback of how many people are.
Yeah, I was not going to do that because I didn't really want to scare people away from just showing up if they desired to. Like sometimes, like there are times when I think I thought back, sort of similar to you, Andrea, like putting it in my own shoes. And there are times I have not RSVP'd for something because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it. And then I was like, oh, well, I didn't RSVP, so I'm not going to go. And I don't really want that to happen because we have the space, we're going to have the apps, we're going to be there. It doesn't really matter to me if someone says they're coming or not. If we get 2 people, if we get 10 people, if we get 30 people, I don't know. I think it's all upside. So I wasn't going to ask for an RSVP unless there's a reason anybody thinks that we should.
No. Oh, just on this conversation, I was thinking like,
Yeah.
if we know there's 5 people, we probably don't need stickers. If we
Gotcha,
get the feeling there may be 30, then
yeah, got it.
Okay,
I think I'll bring them and maybe have a little setup and a Sharpie. And if people want to, great. If not, no big deal. But I'll think about how to create some signage in a way that separates us a bit and notifies, so that if someone comes in for that purpose, they understand. And if not, they're just there because they were golfing, and we can sort of have the conversation. Oh, what are you guys doing? Ah, well, I'm so glad you asked.
If it helps, I have a laminator if you need to laminate anything. I know that sounds really random.
Yes, I might. Let me think.
And then I also have a couple of like 8x10, or I know they can fit like your normal standard letter size paper. A couple of frames that are like white. If you wanted to put something, if there was like a table that you wanted to put something where it would be standing out.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, I have a couple like that I've used with the teachers lounge to when we've like put up signs being like, thank you for being sensational. And so yes, these are staff appreciation, right?
Are you a teacher, Andrea?
I am not. No, no, definitely not. But I'm on the staff appreciation committee at my kids' school.
Got it.
It has been, I'm really good at organizing snacks. I'm not so good at like the decor of the teachers' lounge, but the other 2 ladies I volunteer with are like gangsters at that. So
that's great.
I just make sure we always have food for everything. Then they always have like really interesting decor that they find at Michael's and stuff. So it all works, if that makes sense.
It's an important role. Food is an important role as well.
Yeah.
So that's all I was thinking. I'm trying not to overdo it. It's pretty simple. So unless there's any concerns about sort of how I plan to send out invites with the flyers, or any comments on the flyer itself, I'll probably get that out tomorrow or Friday.
Just let me know when you get it out, because I will backdoor try to check in with the North Scituate Beach Improvement Association.
Why don't I just CC you all on the email? Does that work?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah,
Okay.
just because I'll backdoor ask if, any of them are going to try to go.
Yep. I'll follow up with Anne from South Hammerock as well. Yeah, that would be great. Okay,
All right, great. Thanks for your work on that, Kate.
sure.
Scheduling the next meeting, Wednesday, July 12th, 6 p.m. Hopefully that works for everyone.
I had a note on that. Hang on one second. Oh, yeah. Is there a way, would it be possible to move it to another day that week? I do have something that evening.
I'll get my calendar.
If not, it's not a deal breaker. Or even just a little, maybe, no, that won't work either.
I could do Tuesday night that week or Monday night that week.
Yeah, I can do Monday.
If we wanted to keep it that same week. So Tuesday or Wednesday are good for me. Thursday's out.
Would Monday the 10th work for you, Kelly or Rich? And Rich, I should say.
Yes. Richard, good for you? You're on mute.
Yes, I think Mondays are activity free over the summer. It looks
Okay,
that
so
way.
then the next meeting, at least just for, do we want to look at August too then? So next meeting, Monday, July 10th at 6 p.m. And then what about for August? Just because I know it does get kind of crazy. Like I thought we didn't have much planned for the summer, and then all of a sudden we have everything planned.
Yeah, same. The
So is there a problem with the August date?
second Wednesday in August is the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that.
Andrea?
As far as I know, I can still do that one. Yeah.
I am pretty sure that I cannot do that.
Well, how about we wait until July and reconvene on that?
Yeah, I could not do the night. I
Okay.
have a work trip Sunday to Wednesday night.
We are going up to Maine, but we should be back in time. But I think we're in Maine for part of the weekend. Okay.
Thanks for the flexibility on the 10th. That's helpful.
All right, any other business that could reasonably come before us? Seeing none, I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kate. All in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thanks everybody for all the great work you're doing and for being here tonight.
Great. Thank you.
See you soon.
Sounds good.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.